Hello everyone, welcome to my Session 7 teaching memo. Not much going on in the Sagan household this past week. We had an early Thanksgiving last week at Laura's parents' house. Her dad is very sick and probably won't make it to the actual holiday, so we had it early at his request, so it was nice for him. I have my kids and grandkids over to my house the Sunday before Thanksgiving, so there will be a small crowd here on Sunday. The Patriots were embarrassed, so that's all I'm going to say about that. And they have the next week off, and they need it. Okay, a little housekeeping. I have tried to keep up with a Learning Target discussion board. Many of you posted late Sunday, so my feedback will be coming during the early part of the week. I will keep the discussion board open for you to make your response comments and for me to give you feedback. So it's going to be open for another week. Even though I said it was going to close on this week, I really wanted you to get going on it, but it will be open for another week. I've received several communications about the Learning Target assignment, and a few people created targets for something other than the EdTPA Elementary Assessment Handbook. I have made many resources available in Session 7 and in Session 8 to guide you in this process. The first is my assignment video, which is located in the assignment folder, the Learning Activities Assignments folder. You can see every session I have this assignment video where I explain the assignments, and it was very obvious that some of the people that communicate with me had not watched this, because in it I very specifically say that you have to write your targets on the EdTPA Elementary Education Assessment Handbook, not anything else, not a math lesson, not a science lesson. We're doing it on the EdTPA Elementary Assessment Handbook. Now, there are a lot of other resources also in course materials. There were my test creation video, which gives a very detailed description of how to go about creating the self-response test on the EdTPA Elementary Education, and it tells you, it focuses on the targets as well as creating the questions. There's also this folder with materials in here that will help you. This is the rubric. You have to make sure you understand this rubric, because it tells you exactly what the kind of questions, how many there need to be of each type, the quality, each multiple choice, fill-ins, matching, and true false. There's 2 articles here on writing objectives that are specific and measurable, and how to write learning targets. Here are other resources for learning targets. I believe there's tips for behavioral objectives, and these are all documents that you have to download. And verbs for behavioral objectives, which I've shared with almost all of you on the discussion board. This is the EdTPA Making Good Choices, which is an auxiliary text to help you with all of the EdTPAs. And this is an article by Brookhart about making the most of multiple choice, which will help you with reasoning questions and inference type questions, etc., etc. These are exemplar selected response tests. These 3 are special ed. So just look at the format and how they're formatting in the types of learning targets. Back in the assignment section, there were 2 exemplars in the assignment section that were on the elementary EdTPA. So you'll see those right in here, learning activities assignments. If you scroll down, you'll see there are 2 selected response test exemplars. Both of those are on the elementary assessment. So I have several exemplars throughout the session 7 and session 8. Please look at those, please. And watch my videos, because I go through it step by step how to create the test. I talk about the learning targets and how to create those as well. Okay, so that's it for my housekeeping. All of you should have finished your learning targets, but if you haven't, you still can do it. On the surface, it seems like a simple task, but those of you who have gotten feedback from me know that that is not true. Most had difficulty narrowing targets down to a few important areas. There is no way you're going to create a 20 to 25 question quiz on a 74-page handbook. So you have to focus it on certain parts of it. Many of you are focusing on trivial information that will not force your classmates to go deeper into the content of the handbook. This is an open book test, so you want people to go into the handbook and digest it more than just asking, how many videos do you need? You know, how long should this be? What's the purpose of the EdTPA? That to me is really a shallow question. You know, I think it's in the first paragraph of the EdTPA. So, or what are the three sections of the EdTPA? And that's in the table of contents. So please look at your targets and make them so people go deeper into it. In my experience with certification candidates, the areas I see with which they struggle the most are knowledge of language demands, what those are, supporting areas with research in their commentaries, and the nuances in between a 2, 3, and a 4 in the rubrics. And I mentioned last session that you should focus on the assessment parts of the rubric, the one in the planning section and the one in the assessment sections. So, you will not lose credit for asking simple knowledge questions. I'm trying to get you to create a test that's aligned, whose questions are aligned with your learning targets. That's my goal, that you will walk away saying, hey, I now know how to make a test where I can tell if they've mastered my learning targets, instead of just grabbing questions willy-nilly from the textbook or from whatever you taught. They need to be focused on your learning targets. Not many of you created a testing blueprint, which I mentioned in the assignment instructions. Many of you added question types to each targets, which was a good thing because it allowed me to give you feedback about spreading your question types among all of the targets. The vocabulary question, almost all of you have a vocabulary question, and I would vocabulary target, and I would recommend that. You should always be assessing vocabulary. And that lends itself to matching. But the other 3 targets, you should mix them up. And you can see in this blueprint, this is from one of my former students, and you can see she's got 4 learning targets, and these are the number of questions she has, questions 1 through 10, knowledge, reasoning. So she has 4 reasoning questions, and they're all multiple choice. And she spread the others out among true, false, matching, and fill-in. So this is a great way to plan your test. You can see that she weighted the targets differently. Many of you are just weighting your targets 5 points. So if you have 6 matching questions, your matching section is worth 30 points. Now think about it. Should your vocabulary be weighted the most of all your targets? Not really. If you have reasoning questions, those probably should be weighted the most. So think about that and give some thought to you. In some of the discussion boards, some of you asked about that, and I thought that was great that you were thinking about, how should we weight these? And I think it was Nora in my 21 section that said, hey, you should weight the ones you feel are most important, that you focused on, that you're going to focus on most in your lesson, and those should be weighted the most. So I will be giving you feedback to those who posted on the weekend. I'll be leaving the DB open for the rest of the week. If you haven't posted, you still have time to make your initial post and 5 responses to your classmates. So Make sure you watch my assignment, Session 8 assignment video. And that's it for now.